The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, rel-mar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back, everyone. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the X Zone Broadcast Network, Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, Simul Radio, and Simul TV, and iHeartRadio. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and to find out about the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the X Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net. My guest this hour is John Mallard, and he is the author of NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. This was nonfiction bestseller on the top electronic voice phenomenon. It chronicled his start as an investigator going to some of the most haunted places in Newfoundland. It was awesome. It was awesome because all EVPs were linked to YouTube in the eBook. Now you can hear them in real time. Joining me now from St. John's, Newfoundland, is John Mallard. And John, welcome to the X Zone.
Pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Rob.
Tell it. What drew you? What was your inspiration? What was the fascination? What drew you into the paranormal?
Well, I guess I always kind of had a thing for the paranormal, but I think it goes back to when I was just a very young child. Mm-hmm. My parents have a summer home in Holyrood, Newfoundland, and the old train station, which is very close to it, used to have an old magazine stand, and on it was the Weekly World News.
Oh, my gosh.
And if you can remember the Weekly World News,
yeah.
The first thing that pops in my head right away is Bat Boy.
It's true. It's true.
And, I can remember picking that up as a kid because there wasn't a whole lot to do up in at the cabin. Mm-hmm. There wasn't electricity up there or anything like that. So I can remember lying back in my bunk bed at night and reading about stories about Elvis being abducted by aliens and Bat Boy and, Oprah has a clone and all this crazy stuff. And I was like, man, this is so much fun. Yeah. And I think that's kind of like where it kind of started to. And ever since then, I've always had an affinity for the weird. To be honest with you, I came into paranormal investigation as an atheist, very staunch, by the way. Mm-hmm. And basically it all started when my father was given a tremendous gift, which was terminal cancer.
Oh, gosh.
And I say that with a strange tone in my voice because he really did start me on my journey. Mm-hmm. My dad is a very spiritual man.
Right.
And when he got his prognosis of terminal liver, and, we got that, it was kind of shocking, obviously, to me. As the atheist, I had already written him off. I said, this is it. Better enjoy my time with him because, well, there isn't an afterlife in my world.
Yeah.
And, very spiritual man, though. The doctor gave him never really gave him finite time, but the prognosis wasn't very good, you can imagine. We're thinking 6 months to a year at the most. So it was kind of... Well, it was really sad to be. I mean, what else can I really say? When I remember walking up to his bedroom to go sit with him, and just the first time I was going to see him after I heard the news, I was just devastated. And I walked in, and he had his hands behind his head and his feet crossed, and he was just watching MASH on TV. And he looked at me and he said, "I'm fine. God's got me. Just you wait and see." Now, to me, that's just a person who's very spiritual and very religious, in high spirits. With regards to bad news.
Yes.
But prognosis or not, this was 2009, mm-hmm. and I was talking to my father on the phone today, actually, of all days, because I'd missed Father's Day because I was at work yesterday, and lo and behold, he's still kicking around. And I owed a lot of that to the fact that he's a very spiritual person and a wonderful chemo. He's a great example of what spiritual and health, shall we say, medicine-wise, can do.
Oh, God.
It's both things working together. And that was enough to open my mind to the possibility that there might be something else out there that we don't really have a grasp on. Fast forward 3 or 4 years after that, I meet my good friend Robert Demond, who is just this crazy private investigator guy who's just has this drive to just a very nosy person. Did you ever meet someone like that who just wants to know everything?
Yeah, my wife.
Well, I didn't marry Rob, thank God. There wouldn't be enough coffee in the world. Sorry, Rob. He's also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so that's just never going to happen.
No way.
Leave it at
No
that
way.
'cause I
Yeah.
know we were two.
Yeah.
But he got me interested one night.
Yeah.
We were just pretty much sitting back at work, and I met him at work, and he was just kind of like, man, you know what? We got all this microphones and stuff like that. Why don't we go down to Cape Spear and go ghost hunting just for a goof? Like, it wouldn't be the first time me and him have been out searching for the unknown, because we like going metal detecting and stuff back then. So it was kind of like, yeah, you know what? Why not? The hell with it. We'll do it. Now, for anybody out there who's not familiar with Newfoundland, Cape Spear is an old military barracks and is the most easterly point in Newfoundland. Okay, so this is a very popular place. It's an old abandoned military underground facility, basically, and it's just the perfect place for a ghost hunt. Like, if you ever want to come to Newfoundland and go ghost hunting, this is where you're going to go. Okay, so we're there. It's about 1 o'clock in the morning. We're by ourselves. We got a couple of recorders down there running, and we're like,
Right.
You know what? Let's just leave our recorders here in the hall. We'll leave the premises, and we'll go up into the parking lot and have a smoke. And
Right.
to be honest with you, at this point, it was just like, we didn't really care. We're only goofing around anyway. There's nobody down in Cape Spear. I mean, this is absolutely abandoned and freezing cold, even in the summer. And yeah, we came back, grabbed a recorder, and said, maybe there'll be something on it. We'll check it out. So we came back up to the car. We plugged it into the car, and I'll never forget it. We were listening, and it felt like for an eternity. I think we were there for about 45 minutes without a thing on the mic coming through, and then all of a sudden we hear a cell door slam.
Ooh.
And it was just, what the heck was that? We stopped, and we must have played it back about 10 times.
Mm-hmm.
And for anybody who's out there who loves going ghost hunting or is a paranormal investigator, I mean, the first time you catch something, you might as well take your first shot of whatever drug is your fancy, because let me tell you, you're absolutely hooked.
Yeah.
And after that, it was 2 years of investigating with Rob. Rob actually went on to be on a TV show here in Newfoundland called Newfoundland Labrador Paranormal. I, of course, was the wet blanket, so I wasn't exactly invited. I played the role of the atheist turned paranormal investigator, might I remember. I don't really make great TV, so to speak. And the reason why is because it has to be really, really good to get my stamp of approval, so to speak. Me and Rob eventually did part ways, but we left each other on good terms because Rob wanted to go focus more on other things with his acting career and things like that. I kind of wanted to stick with E.V.P. And the reason why E.V.P. I think kind of just took me just to another place is because it's probably the most common thing we capture out on investigations.
Really?
So to us, absolutely.
Wow.
And I feel too, like a lot of people out there, they give E.V.P. a bad name because they mix it up with other things, because it is a form of instrumental transcommunication. Okay,
Yes.
so people mix it up. People are talking about scrying with water and stuff like that, and there's EVPs coming through this. Like, well, no, not exactly. There's nothing electronic voice phenomena has to do with that. It's actually very, very different. And like for instance, electronic voice phenomena to me is not a spirit box. A spirit box is instrumental transcommunication because it's a receiver, whereas your microphone is picking up audio in the background, basically. Mind you, I've had both work on occasion, but we'll talk about that later.
Okay.
The thing about EVP that attracts me to it the most, though, is the fact that it's so prevalent. And, after doing this for so many years and talking to some people in the field and stuff like that, I think I've gotten over the idea that this stuff actually exists. And now I think it's time for everyone to focus on the mechanics of how. How is it possible? And I think some of the proof might be in the pudding, so to speak. We capture these voices we capture voices, we capture footsteps, we capture all kinds of things. I myself have been very, very fortunate to have caught many things that are just unexplainable. One thing I can think of right off the top of my head is footsteps. Footsteps is something I've commonly caught in different locations, and on multiple occasions in the same location, by the way. I'm the type of guy who likes to go back 10 times to the same location. As people are like, "You've been doing this for 5 years." I said, "Yeah." They're like, "How many locations?" And I'm like, 6.
Oh, you're consistent. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. This will never be a science. The closest thing we're ever going to get to this, Mr. McConnell, is repeatable data.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about as close as we're going to get, and I admit that that's probably as good as I'm ever going to get for anybody out there who might be skeptical of all this. But anyhow, I digress. The footsteps, the voices, these things we capture on occasion, but we never ever see where they're coming from. And I think that might be the key to this altogether. Very rarely have we got a video, shall we say, of a spirit and an EVP of that same spirit doing that action.
At the very same time.
Exactly.
All right, stand by, my friend. You and I have to take a little bit of a cliffhanger here. John Mallard is our special guest, ExoNation, www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com. And we'll be back on the other side of this commercial break in a couple of minutes as we continue discussing the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology and all matter in between. Are you a believer or are you a skeptic? Send me an email, exon@exonradiotv.com. And to find out about all the programming we have available for you 24/7, 365 on the Exxon Broadcast Network, visit www.xzbn.net. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV. Plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
We live in rapidly shifting times of extreme volatility and uncertainty. Such profound change brings a unique opportunity for the evolution of consciousness. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of Mission Evolution Radio Show, a program that explores the latest scientific developments and deepening spiritual truths supporting human evolution. Join me on XZBN.net, where I interview leading experts in science, physics, medicine, spirituality, and more. By applying divergent viewpoints to leading-edge topics, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truth to assist you on your path to enlightenment. More information and past episodes are available at missionevolution.org.
Welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is John Mallard. He is in St. John's, Newfoundland, beautiful part of Canada. His website is www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com. All right, we ended up on a very interesting note where video or photographs and EVPs are never taken at the same time.
Well, I wouldn't say never, but very rarely do they correlate at the perfect time, so to speak.
Yeah.
We never see a spirit walk up the hall while we get their footsteps on recorder. And one of the things that's been theorized by a lot of people is that this stuff is actually coming from somewhere else, and we're only picking up the aftermath. So a great way to talk about this is to actually get a little tiny bit into, well, physics. I don't want to bore anybody out there, so I'm just going to jump out there and I'm going to say this. I think that the most logical explanation is an extra dimension of space that runs parallel to ours that we're actually just not privy to. We don't know where it is, but it's running parallel to ours, where these things are making sounds and we're just picking them up in our environment. So the only way for sound to travel from there to here would have to be some kind of hole, so to speak, in our environment. So let's back up the train. That would actually pretty much put into place just about every single haunting we've had audio-wise. And the reason why is because, well, we can't catch a ghost, but we can catch their footsteps. It's very, very interesting that we have two types of hauntings as well when it comes to this kind of stuff. People are talking about residual and people are talking about intelligent. And I've been very fortunate to have been involved in places that have both going on because we catch the same sounds a year. I actually caught the same sound of a dresser drawer closing and a typewriter moving 3 separate occasions over the course of a year and a half in one haunted museum here in Mount Pearl, Newfoundland, called Admiralty House Communications Museum. And I was actually very fortunate to have been allowed to investigate that place 9 times by myself. So it's pretty interesting. I digress. I think this stuff is coming from somewhere else. We can't see the place. We can't see that realm wherever it is, but somehow it's coming here.
But how does that correlate with other investigators who say that they ask questions to the other side, wherever that is, and they get the answers back?
Well, we're talking about an intelligent one then. You know, we're talking about intelligent EVP at that stage. I'm talking about the residual hauntings, the footsteps and stuff like that aren't usually
sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But absolutely, I still think those things are as well coming from somewhere else. Once we get over the fact that this stuff actually exists, we need to get into the mechanics of how is it possible that it exists in our reality. We all know that sound, well, our vocal cords are an absolute necessity to create sound.
Right, vibrations.
We know that. In order for me to talk to you, air has to pass through my vocal cords in a certain way and vibrate the air.
Yep.
And your little tiny little hairs in your ear have to pick them up and turn it into data, basically. And boom, we have all kinds of lovely Newfoundland slang words like, hey, what are you at? Here's the wonderful thing about that, though, Rob, is that, well, that works great for me and you, but if I'm in an extra dimension of space that's running parallel to ours, there's absolutely no mechanics if I am a spirit, as far as we know.
Well, in order for sound to be produced, there has to be air in the environment.
Exactamundo. It has to be coming from somewhere.
Right.
In other words, there has to be an origin point.
Yeah.
Which means there has to be a place where this stuff is coming through in a room when EVPs are captured. And that is where I left my research to. That is about as far as I got, which is actually pretty far. We've come a long way since watching Ghost Hunters on TV and having a great time. But the main thing to me is there has to be a way to bridge between here and there, and that bridge might be leaving signs. And I think that the closest thing to a sign I've ever gotten inside an EVP was a loud cracking noise, this loud whipping noise. It almost sounds like a whoosh. And other investigators have reported this as well with some of their EVPs, especially more powerful ones that are quick and sudden. It almost sounds like a whipping sound. I wonder if that could be something opening up and closing.
Let me ask you this. How is it that EVPs are not heard at the time, but requires to be heard after playback?
I think that has to do with the sheer actual moments of it. Like, for instance, these things are coming in very low, sometimes under 6 and 7 decibels. Like, these are very low. Like, there's many times I've caught EVPs that are very, very quiet, and you have to amplify so our ears don't pick them up. But I'll be damned. There are a lot of people out there who have animals that can hear these things, I think, because their ears are a bit more sensitive. So I think when they do come through, they haven't got as much power as we like to have, you know what I mean? That's one thing I do believe is definitely part of it. But also it begs to differ. Maybe where they're coming from is impossible to have those super loud sounds. Maybe there's a different type of air there. Maybe it's not air at all. Sound can travel through other things, right? Like water or whatnot. So God knows what's over on that side. My thought is that mechanic, though, you are on the right track, Rob, because reality of it is we should be hearing these things constantly.
Right.
If they're really going on. But we aren't. They're very, very quiet.
Well, different frequencies, like you were saying, animals can pick them up, but humans can't. And there is, that's well documented. That's a fact. So they could be on either ultra frequencies or sub frequencies.
Well, and here's the really wild thing about it. Nobody on this planet has the same fingerprint. Yeah. Nobody on this planet has the same iris print. And nobody on this planet has the same hearing print. We all hear sounds absolutely different. We're all unique that way. So it's interesting that some people can hear this stuff better than others. Unfortunately, I have to sit back and listen to stuff cranked up very, very loud with my big, beautiful headphones for 6 and 7 hours at a time and hopefully capture these things. Very rarely have I heard things in real time with true EVP. To me, a true EVP is something that's caught just on recorder by itself with nothing else in the room. That is the real true EVP. A spirit box EVP is something that comes through a spirit box, which is one of those radios that play things really quick and scan through stations and white noise generators and that kind of stuff, right?
But how accurate are they? Are they hokey?
I think 99%. You know what? We're very, very blessed because this last month, we had a great example of an EVP that has literally divided the internet, which is the Yanny versus Laurel debacle.
Tell us about that.
This isn't actually an EVP. This is just somebody who recorded this voice that says Laurel. But so many people heard Yanny and so many people heard Laurel. So it's a great example of how we can misinterpret a lot of data. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you're hearing Laurel and I'm hearing Yanny, who's to say that my spirit box EVP I caught is anything at all?
Right.
So in my book, I talk very, very adamantly about a wonderful way that I've come up to actually siphon out the bad ghost box EVPs because I do believe it does work. I truly do. And I'm one of the few out there who do believe it actually works, but only because I've had great success with it and I'm very, very critical of what I catch. And I did that by coming up with a new way to classify it. It's called a MAID communication. Now, MAID's abbreviation that stands for multiple word, audible to the ear, intelligently communicated, and in direct response to a question or stimulus. So what I mean by that, so MAID, multiple word. When you're using a ghost box and it's scanning stations and you're getting the ch-ch-ch-ch and you hear a blip, blop, blip, blop, blop, that's not an EVP.
No, that's
it has
a frequency
to be multiple
change.
word.
Right.
To even consider, like, it's nice to hear your name through it, but really I wouldn't consider it an EVP. It has to be multiple word. That right away, it shouldn't be possible because you're scanning over so many stations so fast. And you can tell when it's the same voice over. Like, if I heard Rob McConnell, I'm going to know your voice over 6 or 7 stations. You know yourself that there's 6 or 7 stations where you can hear the voice faintly.
Yeah.
So it's still there. As a person in radio, you know that yourself. So that's one thing. But multiple words would be much more harder to get, especially if they're a couple of seconds apart. So if I had something like, hey, how are you today? That is far more likely to be, shall we say, of a paranormal nature than something that sounds more like this. John, which is pretty much what the entire Zach Baggins movie was centered around.
So if we look at all the different paranormal groups that have these EVPs, I've heard so many EVPs that I don't understand what the EVP is saying, and yet you've got these paranormal investigators who are saying, well, can't you hear what it's saying? And I'm saying, no, I don't.
You know what? It's funny. You mentioned earlier that, my wife is just wonderful at deflating my ego.
Oh, they all are, my friend.
So if it doesn't pass the Steph test, I got a Stephanie too, by the way. If it doesn't pass the Steph test, it isn't an EVP.
Yeah, well, I hear you there. I hear you.
And I'm going to stand by this, and I've said this to many people who are skeptical of my work. 99.9% of my stuff could be mistaken. It could be, absolutely, sure. But you know what? There's some things that I've caught. It's just, it's not possible for it not to be it. And I think I'm going to give you a great example of that right now.
Okay.
I was at Admiralty House Communications Museum, and I'm going to give you one with the spirit box because it gets so much.
Well, why don't we do this? Instead of me having to cut you in the next couple of seconds, let's go to our news break now. Exonation, our guest this hour is John Mallard. His website is www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com. His new book is NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. We'll be back on the other side of this break with the news as we continue here in the X-Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And don't forget, X-Zonation of the X-Chronicles newspaper is available. That is the July 2018 edition at www.xchroniclesnewspaper.com, and it's there with our compliments. You can read it online or download it. Our way of saying thank you so much for being part of this 28-year voyage that I've been on called the X-Zone.
From our broadcast studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, to the world and beyond, you're watching the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
AVS Media Den.
You have heard of the X-Zone? Now watch it on SimulTV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is SimulTV. SimulTV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X-Zone, Sci-Fi, and Horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world, interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. SimulTV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have SimulTV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone broadcast network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Rob McConnell here, presenting an overview for Nicholas Paul Jennings, author of a fascinating book, Amen. It presents facts revealed by Egyptologists, facts that enable us to understand why Amen is the beginning of creation of God. It provides recommendations for religious leaders of the major religions to unify their beliefs and teach the Word of God. Love one another. Amen informs people how mankind conceived God. It was the Egyptians that developed the concepts of a soul, a hereafter, and Son of God. And finally, after the worship of many gods, they conceived the belief in one universal God, the maker of all there is. For more information, visit www.futureofgodamen.com. That's www.futureofgodamen.com.
John Mallard is our guest. His website is www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com, and his book is entitled NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. All right, before we went to the break, you were just going to share some examples with us.
Absolutely.
And I did not want to interrupt you.
I mentioned before about the made communication. So we're looking for things that are multiple words. Mm-hmm. They're audible to the ear. They're intelligently communicated, and also in direct response to a stimulus or question. That's to me, like, if they can pass if an EVP can get those four gates, that is one hell of an EVP. That is something I'd like to hear, and you guys can send them to me at my website. I'd love to hear what you guys got. But anyway, I digress. Admiralty House Communications Museum. I was on an investigation. Me and the owner were there together. Mm-hmm. I actually had a spirit box running at this time. And we had been investigating there a few times. I've been coming back and forth to this place. This place is supposedly haunted by a man by the name of Mr. Candy, who was electrified to death back in the World War.
Shocking.
Admiralty House Communications Museum is actually where they actually had the communications going on there from the Germans. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, I digress once again. This EVP came through that – I'm telling you, for 4 years I was skeptical that spirit box. I still used it just like I use a K2 meter. I don't believe a K2 meter can detect spirits either, but guess what? I still got it as part of my equipment because you never know. I'm willing to try.
Be prepared.
Yeah, be prepared, right? I had the spirit box running, and I hear Jonathan, which is my full name, by the way, and right away I turn around and said, yup, that's me. I'm Jonathan. And then I hear the lads. Now, the lads is short for Life After Death Society, which is what everybody called us.
Right.
The lads. And I said, yes, I'm Jonathan. I'm part of the lads. It goes, member. I said, yes, I'm a member of lads. So this thing said my name. It said the name of my ghost hunting team, and then said I was a member. And, this all came through within like 10 seconds.
So how did that spirit or that entity know you were there?
I think they're there all the time. I don't believe in a haunted location. I believe in a haunted world. I think we're like a TV show to these guys. I think they're just watching us. I really hope they're not watching me during my more private moments. But I will say this. I do believe in a haunted world as opposed to a haunted house. And when the stimuli and environment is correct, we get these hauntings that come out.
Well, let me ask you this. If we can hear them, how come we can't see them?
Once again, are they in that extra dimension of space where we can't see them? The only way to really describe it to you is if you have a piece of paper in front of you, and that piece of paper you're holding up with your two hands in front of you, and everything you know about this world is on this piece of paper, okay? Everything. All the trees, all the lovely cats we pet, all the beautiful people out there and your wonderful listeners, they're all right there.
Right.
If there's an extra dimension of space that we don't know about, I want you to take that piece of paper and I want you to turn it until it's thin so you can barely see it right in front of you. Now, there's a whole world that surrounds it that you can't see. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Think about the world of a fish tank with the lights off on the outside. The fish can't see who's out there, but they can see us. They can tap on the glass. We can't see the finger tapping on the glass, but we can hear it. That makes sense?
Nope.
It's tough to explain this without a visual.
I was, when you had me until you said the fish tap on the glass.
No, we tap on the glass.
Oh, we tap on the glass. Okay, now it makes sense. I know.
Fish can't see us.
Well, I know in Newfoundland, the cod fodder's in charge of the gangs over there, so you never know.
Lord Thunder, you knows when I'll be catching them no more.
Don't you know, eh?
Well, I will say this to you, though. There's other things that I've managed to capture that have actually led to solving a mystery over at Admiralty House Communication Museum.
Tell us about it.
For many, many years, this place has stood, and there was a death on the premise. As I mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
Mr. Candy was electrified to death in the spark room, which is something that powers the entire radio station, which was just such a big tragedy. This is 100 years ago, by the way. So, yeah, the mystery is we don't know this guy's actual name. So we were trying to get a name really, really bad, and I was unsuccessful, unfortunately. But I noticed that a lot of the EVPs I captured were a lot of old English EVPs. Like, there was a lot of words that just, like, did not exist in our time.
Right.
So I was kind of like, this is interesting. These are strange accents. I said, this sounds more British than Irish. So I cross-referenced the name Candy with the 2 years between when he was actually supposedly reported dead, because we all know that records sometimes aren't exactly the most accurate.
True.
I cross-referenced it with British people and who were in the Naval Reserve. And what did I get? Boom. Henry Candy. It popped up right away. Died via electrocution in St. John's, Newfoundland during the war. So there you go. I actually solved that to them and brought it and said, this is how I figured it out. And they were flabbergasted, because here there's these people who got, like, bachelor degrees and all this stuff, and the lowly E.V.P. investigator solved this mystery, which I thought was just so cool. And there you have it, Henry Candy. Interesting ghost, so to speak, who's hanging out at Admiralty House to this very day. And there are many supposedly haunted locations in Newfoundland that I've had the pleasure of investigating at. There's a lot more than just, shall we say, Cape Spear and Admiralty House as well.
Where, in your opinion, is the most haunted place in Newfoundland?
Well, I will have to say Cape Spear, because I've spent so much time there. I've done 30 investigations there. And a big chunk of my first book I wrote is NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead Newfoundland. A big chunk of that first book I wrote is actually about Cape Spear. It's just insane how many EVPs have come out of this place and how perfect it is for ghost hunting. Like, it can't be any more perfect. There's no light sources. There's no electricity sources. There's no noise. Like, this is – you got to walk an hour off the beaten path to a place that's completely surrounded by water with nobody around for miles and miles and miles. Like, what a beautiful place to go. It's a dream come true, really.
Wow.
And on top of all that, it's underground.
Underground.
Yes. There's, like, you can't get radio over there. So you're trying to use your spirit box. It really, really helps, because guess what? There's not much getting through anyway.
Right. While you're doing your investigations and you've acquired these EVPs, do you witness or experience any other paranormal activity?
You know what? I'm going to be honest. I haven't had a whole lot of stuff happen to me. I think a lot of stuff gets romanticized, obviously. But there was a few instances where, I had things happen. Right. And one thing that happened to me was we were at a cross monument at Cape Spear. There's actually a cross monument to some dead soldiers over there. And I was just hanging out with Rob, and we were doing a regular, just basic EVP session actually at the time. And Rob was to my side. We were both facing the cross. And I felt a tap on my shoulder, and it was loud enough that Rob looked at me and said, "Did you hear that?" I said, "Yeah." "Did you just tap me on the shoulder?" He said, "No." I said, "Okay." I think that's probably the only time I've ever been touched or felt anything come through. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, speak about reach out and touch someone. Wow.
Yeah, and which kind of jives with this idea that, well, really, if these things are coming from another dimension of space and we're only getting the end result, we shouldn't be able to photograph them or be touched by these things.
Well, you see, this is what I find hard to understand, is if they can communicate and if they can touch, why can't they be seen? What's the missing component here?
Well, I know one thing. If we were to capture something here, it would have to exist in our reality. If it's on film, it has to exist in our reality. That would completely destroy this idea that these things are coming from an extra dimension of space, because if it's in our reality and it's caught on camera, it has to reflect light.
But the fact that it touches, doesn't that also mean it's in this realm of reality?
Well, I guess so, but the difference there would probably be temperature. If we didn't feel any temperature, like I felt a tap on my shoulder,
right?
Who's to say that it's not doing that in that other dimension? But my thing to say to you is that I think the audio is coming from there. If these things really do exist in our reality, it might be possible for them to move things, touch things, or be photographed, which is why I don't have a whole lot of stories about other paranormal things other than that one time getting tapped on the shoulder. I just thought it was weird. Perhaps I can describe that by simply saying, or explain it, just by simply saying perhaps it was a raindrop. It could have happened, but it was awful loud and weird.
Either a raindrop, but weren't you underground when this happened?
This one we were at a cross monument, so we were actually outside at this point.
Any seagulls around?
Nope.
Right, so it's not a seagull.
It's just the middle of the night. They're all asleep, thank God.
All right, listen, you and I have to take our final break. My friend, please stand by. Exonation, our guest this hour is John Mallard. His website is www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com. He's the author of NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. And we'll be back on the other side of this break as we wrap up this hour here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in beautiful Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Now, don't forget, the X Zone TV channel is now available on Simul TV. Check their website out at www.simultv.com. And for all the programming information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, 24/7, 365, visit www.xzbn.net. Whether you're a skeptic or a believer, I love hearing from you. Just send me an email. It's that simple. Xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. And for all of you who were kind enough to send me all those home cures for the summer flu or summer cold that I had last week, one of them worked. I don't know which one, but it's still funny that 90-some-odd% of them all included a healthy dose of alcohol. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
You have heard of the X Zone? Now watch it on Simul TV, plus 500 video games, live TV channels, free video on demand, worldwide, and more. Does this sound like tomorrow's television? Well, it is, but you can have it today, right now. It is Simul TV. Simul TV offers what the others only wish they could provide. 15 exclusive channels like X Zone, sci-fi, and horror. We are worldwide. No other provider offers that. 500 built-in video games. No need to have an extra expensive system. We have them included. Free video on demand. Live streaming events from around the world. Interactive online network, and much more. Tomorrow's TV today. Simul TV. Sound too good to be true? Well, it's not. You can have Simul TV today. Sign up at simultv.com. Do it today.
The new nonfiction book, Razor of Madness, is similar to cult movies like Clockwork Orange, Dragon's Tattoo, or The Other Side of Hell. Wayne Morin Jr. and Thomas Lee Howe will expose widespread and systematic deficiencies in this thought-provoking tell-all novel. Mind control rages among scholars in law schools. Human rights are ignored while thought reform and mental manipulation are accepted practices used as behavior modification. Dr. Louis Jolyon West comes to mind. Media and public scrutiny shows that United States mental hospitals are in fact destructive murder industries. Razor of Madness expose novel details this epidemic through an in-depth professional and personal investigation. For decades, there has been a revolving door policy that still releases killers and pedophiles back into society. The maestro of mind control continues to haunt America to this very day. Razor of Madness is available in paperback or as a downloadable ebook at Amazon.com.
The concept of a new age has been around since the late 19th century, yet much of its original meaning has been lost. What exactly is the new age? Is it a religion, a collection of obscure esoteric practices, a series of doomsday predictions, or an astrological event? The New Age Chronicles is a unique, complementary publication bringing reason and grounded information to separate fact from fiction. Chock full of valuable information to support you as we make the monumental shift into the new era. You won't want to miss a single innovative issue. The New Age Chronicles newspaper is coming soon to www.newagechronicles.com.
Welcome back, everyone. John, a.k.a. Jonathan Mallard, is our special guest. He is in one of the oldest provinces in Canada. They've only been part of Confederation since, 1949?
Oldest city in North America.
All right, we'll give you that, okay. We love our...
Oldest colony.
We love our Newfoundlanders. You know, you guys you're friendly. Everybody's so friendly.
It's hard not to love a Newfie.
Yeah, it is. What's the name of your famous drink? Newfie Screech?
Oh, yeah.
If
you ever come to Newfoundland, I'll screech in again. Maybe we can go ghost hunting at Cape Sphere.
Yeah, we'll have to do a live remote. How's that?
Oh, man, I love that.
Okay. Congratulations on your book, John. NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. How has the research you've done changed your belief when it comes to the paranormal? I know we touched briefly on how it has changed your outlook on life in general. You know, thank God your dad is still with us. But communicating with the other side, are we communicating with those who have passed, or those who are in transition, or those who are still here but were never on this side of reality?
I have absolutely no idea who we're communicating with, Rob. I have no idea. I have not figured that out. And I think one of the reasons why I decided to hang up the recorder a couple of months ago was because I think I know enough now. All I know is there's something, and that's good enough for me. I think that wherever this is coming from, I think we're headed there. That's enough. I get it. And I came into this field as an atheist. I'm not leaving as one. And I'll leave it at that. My entire life was changed by this. Absolutely. Every fiber of my being, completely different person. And for the better. I've decided in my life at this stage it's more important to be concerned with the living than it is with the dead. And I've actually had a change in career myself now, where I look after medically fragile and challenged children who are in foster care systems.
Bless you for that.
Yeah, so I've kind of changed gears a little bit, but I haven't left my love for the paranormal. I'm still that little boy reading the weekly world news at my cabin out in Holyrood sometimes, and I've decided to dedicate my time to my beloved podcast, the Ode to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast, which is a spin on the Ode to Newfoundland, which is our provincial anthem. The Ode to Newfoundland Paranormal Podcast is a monthly paranormal variety show, and hey, man, I'd love to have you on sometime, by the way.
Anytime. Anytime.
I think it'd be great.
Listen, as somebody who I think approaches the paranormal with a level head, what do you take about all these different ghost TV shows and paranormal shows that are out there?
It's entertainment.
Yeah,
it's entertainment. There's bits and pieces of truth in what they do. Absolutely. You know what? Just first things first. I mean, let's just say that one of these shows are actually doing things correctly 100%, and they really are. You're not seeing half the work that goes into this stuff. Because let me tell you, you sitting down watching Jonathan Mallard with 36 hours of audio by myself in a dark room listening for EVPs is not compelling television. So right away, you're not getting that part of this. There's an insane amount of work that goes into EVP research, an insane amount. If you're out investigating every single week and you're getting stuff every single week, that's great. But reality is there's no way you're being thorough with your equipment. Do you know what I mean? That's step one. Step two, and this is a big one too. Once I said to you earlier, I'm looking for repeatable data. I could never explain to someone with a science-driven mind that this stuff truly exists. the closest thing I can get for people who are skeptical is repeatable data, the same stuff happening over and over and over again. You can't do that by jumping to location to location every single week. You just can't do it. It's a different environment. It's self-defeating in a lot of ways.
Do you think these shows are an asset or a hindrance to true paranormal investigations?
My hat's off to the plumbers when they started this back in 2004 because they opened the door for paranormal investigators like myself to do this. I have utmost respect for those guys. But they have served their purpose. Now that it's a mainstream idea and that ghost hunters aren't laughed out of the place anymore, it's actually something that could actually be real. I think that's what the purpose of this was. Other than that, it is just a good TV show to watch. And I mean, obviously some TV shows might be better than others, but I digress. If you take a recorder and you go out and you go to a supposedly haunted place and you capture something, are you not doing the same thing they're doing?
True. Listen, do you find, is it my imagination or are these shows starting to die off?
Absolutely, they are dying off. But you got to realize the craze started, I mean, this is almost 15 years ago now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's a long time for anything to run on TV. Like, this isn't The Simpsons where there's 1,000 characters and everyone's hilarious. This is the same thing over and over and over again. And you know what? It has a cult following, I'm sure, and it always will, but absolutely it will die out. Also, in the realm of the paranormal, when it comes to entertainment, it almost seems like these things are cyclical anyway. Aliens might be big for a few years, and then Bigfoot might be big for a few years, and then Ghost it just goes in cycles and comes back and goes. And you know, that to me is the way this seems to go with entertainment on TV anyhow.
Do you study or have you investigated any other aspect of the paranormal besides EVPs? Have you looked into UFOs? Have you looked into sea monsters since you're in Newfoundland?
No, and that was actually one of the reasons why I love my podcast, because it gives me a chance to talk to everyone who are experts in those fields. And I use the word experts laughingly because, you know, there really is no experts. There's just people who's put a lot more time in it than, say, me or you.
Yeah.
And, you know, that to me is just the best thing I could do, really, to get a better base knowledge of all this stuff. It's so rewarding to be able to talk to somebody who's just passionate about their topic. Just like I feel about E.V.P. When someone talks about Loch Ness Monster or someone talks about Bigfoot on my show, it's just I could feel that love coming through on the other end. And I mean, you can feel the love coming out of me tonight when I'm talking about it. It's there, and it's a great passionate thing, absolutely. And yeah, I'm interested in all those topics, but the only one I've really delved into is E.V.P. on my own. I'll leave the rest for everybody else and tell the stories on my show.
Give me your opinion on this. Do you believe that the governments of the world have joined forces to suppress the information that extraterrestrials have actually been here on this planet interacting us? I mean, putting those people in Ottawa aside and those down in the States in Washington, I mean real aliens, you know? Well, wait a sec, hold on. Anyway, do you think there is a government conspiracy in place to suppress the information of UFOs and ETs?
I think to stop mass panic, if there really was something going on, they would suppress it, absolutely.
Yeah.
Just like if there was like another bubonic plague that got spread around that was killing people, no one would know about it until it actually killed them. They'd be no different. One thing I will say this, it's either one or the other. Either there is a God that created all this or there's aliens out there.
Well, is it possible? Is it possible that God and aliens are one and the same?
I would imagine. Imagine we could confuse them, no doubt.
You see,
we'll get an ancient astronaut theory now.
You see, if I was to write the Bible, I would have put Noah coming first, and the ark wasn't an ark made of wood; it was a spacecraft, and the animals 2 by 2 would be DNA. He crashes into planet Earth.
That is a very interesting idea. I like that.
Yeah.
You know what else is really fascinating? Genesis. It actually does tell the story about how the world was created from science point of view. Like it does. It got the order correct. I thought that was really interesting.
And how did they know that way back then?
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
Are there a lot of UFO sightings in Newfoundland?
There actually is a branch of MUFON out here. It's called Newfound. It's headed by my good friend Laura Gilbert. And Laura is actually just an absolute sweetheart and a good friend of mine who actually has a segment on my show every single month. Yeah, they got their own club up here and stuff like that. Newfoundland is actually a very interesting place for UFO sightings, stuff like that, because, well, A lot of our province is just trees. There's not a lot of street light pollution. So you can get away outside the city and get a better view of the skies. There has been many different UFO sightings, but nothing too extraordinary, I don't think, anyway. I can't really think of a Newfoundland, besides maybe the whole Shag Harbor thing, but I don't think that was even Newfoundland. That was
Nova Scotia, wasn't it?
Was that wasn't Newfoundland? That was Nova Scotia, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Me neither.
Yeah,
that's how significant it was, yeah.
But there's not really a big one, not really a big UFO thing. And there's not really any Bigfoot stuff going on here either.
Well, that's because Bigfoot, I don't think, can swim, and the only way he could get to Newfoundland is if he was to swim or get on a boat.
Man, I'm telling you, I've come across some guys who look like Bigfoot on the boat to Bell Island. Well, I'll tell you one thing we do have, though, and this is an interesting fact to end it off with you. We do have the world's first ever Kraken on display here. The
How
first
big?
ever giant octopus washed up on shore in Newfoundland. And we have its carcass. So before it was filmed, before it was documented and stuff like that, we had bits and pieces of this gigantic octopus, this gigantic squid. So the giant squid is, well, the Kraken or sea monster actually does exist.
Right.
And it did wash up on the shores of Newfoundland. And you can, to this day, still see bits and pieces. Sometimes it goes on display at the Memorial University. And I can't remember the last time it was out. I know many years ago I seen it at the Rooms. It was on display, which is another museum here in town. So there you go. Come see a sea monster, guys. And get screeched in. This province is awesome.
John, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight, my friend. A great pleasure. I hope I have the pleasure of having you back on in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. There's always something going on in Newfoundland that's weird and spooky. We are the oldest city in North America.
And we'll be checking in with you in the near future, John. Take care of yourself, buddy.
Thanks so much, Rob. Thanks for having me on.
My great pleasure. Exonation, our guest this hour has been John Mallard. He is the author of NewfieEVP, Talking with the Dead in Newfoundland. And his website is www.lifeafterdeathsociety.com. I'll be back on the other side of the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. My name is Rob McConnell. Don't go away.
Modern Esoteric, Beyond Our Senses by Brad Olson, consummates the lifeology story about where humanity originates. It is the lost continents, the primitive wisdom, the mythos of creation, and the rethinking of ancient history as we are taught in academia. There is much more to the story than what we have been told. As this is the first book in the Esoteric series, Modern Esoteric starts at the beginning of time and accelerates up to this modern age. Future Esoteric is book 2 in the series and takes a forward-looking position ahead of today with an open and honest examination of the ET issue and various unexplained phenomena. To discover the writings of author Brad Olson, visit www.bradolson.com. That's www.bradolson.com. Are you or is someone you know struggling with addictions, depression, anxiety, relationships, low self-esteem, lack of confidence, grief, success, and prosperity? Do you know that your subconscious belief plays a big role in the outcome of your hard work? We can help you permanently change the beliefs that may be the reason for your struggles and failures. We care about getting you the return on your investment and the results you are looking for. We can help you be free of the limitations of your past and in realizing your highest potential. We work with people by phone and Skype. For more information, visit us at www.ritasoman.com. That's www.ritasoman.com. Do you think you have energy problems in your home? Do you feel better when you're away than when you're home? Joey Korn is a global leader in the world of dowsing who specializes in personal energy clearing and space clearing. He can help you create an ideal energy environment in your home no matter where you live in the world. Learn about his remote spiritual house cleaning services and much more at www.dowsers.com. You can get Joey's book, Dowsing, A Path to Enlightenment, as well as other dowsing books and tools, Kabbalah books, and Walter Russell books. Joey's work is really amazing. Go to dowsers.com right now. That's DOWSERS.com or call 1-877-DOWSING. That's 1-877-369-7464.